has joined us today, CA Pannaraj ji, Central Council member representing Karnataka in the august body which runs all of us, including me, Shri Kotha Srinivas ji, Secretary Hubli branch CA Dhanpal Manoli ji, Vice Chairman of SIRC Chennai, CA Geeta ABG, all the distinguished chartered accountants who have joined us today. I should not forget CA Sheshagiri Kulkarni ji, who has been kind enough to coordinate our getting together and an opportunity to meet with chartered accountants and students from one of the most prominent branches of the institute, and as you rightly pointed out, the largest setup and building that we have in our institute. My compliments to you, Mr. Pisse, and your entire team for the wonderful work that you do. Incidentally, for you, Sheshagiri ji, this is not a political attire, this is an Indian attire. And I did not think that changing the attire changes the person. But if you would have come last night to Bengaluru after I had finished the whole day's work and had my shower and was going for my dinner at about 11ish, I did get into jeans and a t-shirt also. But I don't think the dress matters, it's in our mind. All the issues that were highlighted by my good friend Kotha Srinivas, or taken up by Sheshagiri ji, are all issues which are relevant, are a matter of concern, are a matter of interest to all of us. But the solutions also will have to come from within us. Nobody from outside. And certainly I do hope none of you agree with the concept of going to foreign soil and deriding our Indian ethos, our Indian achievements, and inviting foreign countries to come to India and interfere in our affairs. In that same thread, the problems that we all have, the problems that our nation faces, are our collective problems, are our collective issues. And I am for one convinced that when we all put our heads together, we'll find solutions for every issue that confronts society and the nation today. We have before us a perspective we can look at. Since I have been in government for nearly 9 years now, I would urge you to reflect on the situation prevailing 9 years ago and where we are today. As chartered accountants, I don't think we have forgotten that in 2013-14, India was ranked as a fragile 5 economy. We were amongst the world's worst performing 5 economies of substance. Interest rates, I hope none of us have forgotten, they had touched 17-18% at an average. You went to any NBFC, they could even charge you as high as 2 or 3% a month. If you were in difficulty or stress, God knows what kind of interest rates one had to pay if your credit rating was not good. You remember the kind of corruption that the country was facing, so much so that a former Prime Minister had to say that for every 100 rupees that I send for the poor, or to the needy, or to the deserving, as subsidy, as support, barely 15 rupees reach the beneficiary. We should not forget that the country was so low on foreign exchange reserves in 2013 that the then government had to pay exorbitant rates of interest and pick up $34 billion so that the rupee depreciation could be cooled down and some confidence could be generated that India is safe and secure. Nobody has forgotten the lakhs and lakhs of crores of scandals that we saw one after the other. Whether it was the arbitrary distribution of coal blocks to friends and family and relatives, to the very, very non-transparent manner in which spectrum, 2G spectrum was distributed, with ugly scenes of applicants running up and down staircases to be first in line to submit an application, and whoever is first in running, so your speed of running or climbing steps or going down steps determined your ability to get a scarce government resource. What happened behind the scenes was, of course, well understood by all of us. I hope you have not forgotten the days when all of us used to be sitting outside income tax officers' cabins. In fact, there was no place also. We used to be trying to struggle to get the peon's stool so that we could get a place to sit. Otherwise, we were loitering around those corridors. Am I right or wrong? I've done it myself. Do you have to go anywhere for your income tax refund today? Everybody gets it, it's sitting in your home. No 5%, no 10%. Of course, this has also caused some chartered accountants also some loss. But they are not in this room, I'm sure. Faceless assessment. I remember when I was holding charge temporarily, that's the time, and I feel happy to share it, that I had the privilege of the opportunity to sign the file through which the faceless assessment process was initiated. And I remember the people who were working on it. And by the way, the original idea came from a group of chartered accountants, a group of CAs, well-wishers of the BJP and activists of the BJP, had actually spent, they sat as a whole group and spent hours designing the basic contours of faceless assessment and submitted it to Shri Arun Jaitley ji. He then put a team of crack officers to holding charge, so the final decision came before me. But of course it was the Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, who actually spent more than 2 or 3 hours first in understanding this idea with those chartered accountants who had designed it, and then gave the green signal. And therefore, to your question, Mr. Kotha Srinivasji, why are you all hesitant about whether corruption can be eliminated or reduced? It can be eliminated and it should be eliminated. But ताली दो हाथ से बजती है. We are all equally culpable. अगर देने वाला बंद हो जाए तो लेने वाला कहां से लेगा? I have often, on more than one occasion, and particularly when I am addressing chartered accountants, I have raised this issue. I have stopped raising it for a long time. Today I am reminded because of your egging me on. And for some of the senior CAs, they may have even heard me say it before. And to my young student friends, Honorable Prime Minister also said it when he came to our association program on 1st of July 2017. And I'm sharing this with you for all the young students particularly. When Prime Minister Modi in that program spoke about the role of chartered accountants to help us clean up the system, eliminate corruption, improve the working of our financial architecture. The students who were all in those stands, and there were thousands and thousands of people in that program. Students had actually fought. We ran out of capacity. The whole stadium was overflowing. There were thousands who were outside. We had to shut the doors. Some CAs and including me, we were being given, people were cursing us for not allowing them to come in. That was the level of enthusiasm. And when the Prime Minister spoke about eliminating corruption, there was cheering from all these young boys and girls. Sadly, it was the senior chartered accountants who were fighting with me backstage. Why is the Prime Minister saying this? And I say this with pain, Kota Srinivas. It was the senior chartered accountants who were unhappy. All the youngsters were cheering the Prime Minister. And I'm saying this because many of those youngsters there may have become chartered accountants by now. The youth of India wants a corruption-free India. And it can be done. And item after item, we are trying to improve the way the nation thinks, the way the nation works. What did the Prime Minister say when he spoke about a developed India by 2047? You remember his speech on 15th August 2047, 15th August 2022, when he articulated his vision for the Amrit Kal, the next 25 years, in which we have entered this year. He gave us 5 principles or commitments, March Pran. And I wish each one of you, particularly my young brothers and sisters, in Hindi they say गांठ बांध लो. I don't know if you've heard that. गांठ बांध लो मतलब एकदम इसको अपने दिल में, अपने पूरे काम में इसको गांठ बांध के सीख लो, समझ लो. The 5 pran. First, we want to see India as a developed nation by 2047. And we have to do it. And that can only happen when we all collectively resolve that India will be a developed nation by 2047. Second, get rid of the colonial mindset. The gulami ki mansikta se mukti chahiye is desh ko. In everything that we do. Thank God, here I don't see that we all have the same chairs. Otherwise, there would have been one chair which would have been a big crown type chair. You remember that, right? Many functions. Then there will be a towel on that, designer towel. I moved from an old office to Vanijya Bhavan where the new Commerce and Industry Ministry office is. It's a beautiful office. Really reflecting the new India that we are trying to create. I keep going around the office to make sure they keep it clean, neat. We want it to be fully digital. One day I went at about, I think midnight, when I was returning home, I said, let's take a round. I saw 5-6 chairs again at that tower. Fortunately 5-6 out of a. So next day I had to again call all the officers. Tell them, look, we have not moved into a new building. We have moved into a new culture. That is what we need as a nation. Get rid of that colonial mindset. The third thing that Prime Minister said, let's go back to our roots. There's so much in our history, in our culture, in our tradition, in our family value systems. So much of goodness that India always had. We were blessed with goodness and more goodness. And history should teach us good lessons. Let's not look at the history of what we have inherited. Very often when we read history, we find that we became slaves to the British or to the Mughals only because of our own folly. We fought amongst ourselves as a nation. Our kings and princes fought amongst ourselves. We betrayed our society. At one point of time, the British had barely 6,000 soldiers controlling this beautiful big country. Barely 6,000 before 1857. And even there we would have been successful in our freedom struggle. But for Indians letting down Indians. So let's look back into our glorious history and learn some lessons how we are going to take this country to become a developed country. Fourth, and very important, was the unity and integrity of India. देश की एकता और एकजुटता को कायम रखना. I don't need to elaborate more on that. We are a country of diversity, but we are one country, a proud nation. Fifth and most important, let us work with a sense of duty. And I wanted to come to this sense of duty. कर्तव्य भावना से अगर हम सब मिल गए तो दुनिया की कोई ताकत भारत को विकसित देश, एक समृद्ध देश बनाने से रोक नहीं सकती. And what did Prime Minister mean by the sense of duty? Is what I used to always tell the chartered accountants wherever I went. I'm sure मेरे जाने के बाद मुझे भी बहुत गाली मिलती होगी. Just imagine, my friends, Kota Srinivas, can you start a movement if you are telling me you want a corruption free, you want to eliminate it, and I'm sure each one of us in this room is desirous of that. If every chartered accountant in this country takes a pledge, only our profession, nobody else is required. We alone, just the chartered accountants of India, if only 4.5 lakh CAs, how many are there? 4 lakhs. 4 lakh chartered accountants take a pledge. We will not sign a balance sheet. We will not sign a false certificate. We will not sign any accounts or any report unless it is 100% accurate, honest. We will not allow people to cheat on their taxes, GST, income tax, import-export taxes, misclassification of goods, misuse of advanced licenses in export or import. Litany of areas where we already have the power to stop wrongdoing. Believe me, friends, particularly my young student friends, we can change the complete face of this country. Just we 4 lakh chartered accountants. That is the power that we have in our pen. That is what the Prime Minister has said. आप थे उस दिन वहां पे उस कार्यक्रम में? नहीं थे. प्रधानमंत्री ने यही कहा था, इस कलम की इतनी ताकत है कि ये देश की दिशा भी बदल सकता है, देश की दशा भी बदल सकता है. It can change the condition and the pathway, the future of this country. That is the power of a signature of a chartered accountant. Friends, we have to resolve where we want to see this country. I would urge you, Kota and Pise, set up a small group of chartered accountants in Karnataka. Let us see every process. आफ्टर ऑल कुछ गलत काम हो रहा है तो उसमें रास्ता भी हम ही को निकालना पड़ेगा. राइट? हम क्या कर रहे हैं दिल्ली में? प्राइम मिनिस्टर जब पीएम बने तो उनके सामने तो वही प्रधानमंत्री, नाम नहीं लेने की आवश्यकता है कि जरूरत है. आप सबको मालूम है ना किसने कहा था कि 100 रुपए भेजता हूं 15 रुपए पहुंचते हैं? किसने कहा था? ये आपको मालूम होगा. नहीं मालूम है तो कोई सीनियर सीए को पूछ लेना या घर जाके अपने माँ बाप को पूछ लेना, वो बता देंगे. That is called a weak leadership. In Hindi it is called निहत्ता. दम नहीं है. मैं क्या करूं, मैं 100 रुपए भेजता हूं 15 रुपए पहुंचते हैं गरीब के पास, बेनिफिशियरी के पास। 85 रुपीस चले जाते हैं करप्शन में, बिचौलियों में, दलाल में। आज वो लोग हमारे ऊपर टिप्पणी कर रहे हैं कुछ एक दो आइसोलेटेड इंसिडेंट्स के ऊपर। उन्होंने तो पूरा इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज कर दिया इयर्स एंड इयर्स के लिए भ्रष्टाचार, और रास्ते भी नहीं खोजे सॉल्यूशन के लिए। प्रधानमंत्री जी ने हर एक चीज का रूट कॉज एनालिसिस किया। आज जनधन, आधार, मोबाइल की ट्रिनिटी कौन लाया इस देश में? किसने घर घर में जाके खाते खोले, जनधन अकाउंट खोले? आधार नंबर को तो कांग्रेस के दो नेता के आपसी झगड़े में इंप्लीमेंट ही नहीं कर पाए थे, याद है ना? आप ही के कर्नाटक के व्यक्ति जो कांग्रेस के कैंडिडेट भी थे बाद में, उन्होंने आधार को डिजाइन किया। ये सोचिए विडंबना, आयरनी। इट वाज डिजाइन्ड बाय अ पर्सन who became a Congress candidate from Bangalore. But the Congress could not implement because they kept fighting with each other. One person wanted a national population register, another wanted Aadhaar, and they kept fighting. In the process, who suffered? India, all of us. Prime Minister had the confidence, even though it was designed by a Congress candidate. In fact, I remember the gentleman was hesitant कि अभी तो खत्म हो गया, अभी कांग्रेस गई तो आधार भी गया. But he still had the wisdom, and he is a very wise man, undoubtedly he is a great man. I hold him in very, very high esteem. He took time and went and shared his idea with the Prime Minister. Prime Minister had told all of us ministers on day one, after the election results in 14, elections are over, set aside all politics. Now we are government of India, that time 130 crore Indians. Said we have to serve 130 crore people, irrespective of who gave us a vote, didn't give us a vote, where we won, where we lost. Do what is good for India, that is your pride. And he liked Nandan's ideas. He liked that everybody will have an identity, and in his mind was already working how to stop leakage of public money. Taxpayers, we are all taxpayers, right? When your hard-earned tax-paid taxes are misused, 100 becomes 15. Does that not hurt you? I'm sure it hurts each one of you. So he brought Aadhaar. Today 98-99% of the country has Aadhaar. Maybe by now it may even become 100%, but I'm not saying that. But then a journalist will go to find one fellow who doesn't have Aadhaar. Remember in Madison Square, in 2014 or 15, Prime Minister had gone to New York. If any of you remembers that scene, one journalist going and begging people, please criticize the Prime Minister, please criticize the Prime Minister. He couldn't find anybody. In fact, वो अच्छा हो गया किसने इससे आजकल हम केयरफुल हैं. जब मैं पावर मिनिस्टर था तो मैंने कहा 100% सबको इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कनेक्शन देंगे. Remember सौभाग्य scheme, and today you should be proud. Your tax-paying money has been put to good use, so that today every home has an electricity connection. Every home has a toilet. Every home has a cooking gas connection. Every home will soon have a water from the tap, Jal Jeevan Mission. Under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, all the poor people will be given home, a proper pakka ghar. Digital India is reaching the nook and corner of the country. And I can keep reading out tons and tons of schemes and programs. Without discrimination, every single beneficiary gets that, thanks to the money that you pay as taxes, which is being put to good use. Today, thanks to JAM, over the last few years, I think about 27, 28 lakh crores, roughly. Could be more by now. This figure keeps growing because some 300, 400 schemes, pension, scholarship, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Yojana, 6,000 rupees to every farmer every year. Like that, there are so many schemes. All goes click of a button, seconds into your bank account. Income tax refund, straight RTGS into your bank account. Subsidies, scholarships, straight to your bank account. Now imagine if 27, 28 lakhs or 25 lakhs, whatever, take any figure. You are chartered accountants, you can do it faster than I can do it. I'm not practicing. But I'm putting the knowledge I got to good use where I'm serving you. If 25, 27 lakhs were to be given to the poor or to the beneficiaries at that time, quickly do the maths. How much money would have been required? यहाँ पे आप लोग स्टूडेंट्स सीए कितना फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट पे फर्स्ट दोनों ग्रुप एक साथ करना पड़ता है तो ही रैंक मिलेगा याद रखना. तो it will be about nearly, give and take a few lakh crores, 170, 175 lakh crores. That will be the amount required to give 25 lakh crores to the poor. 175 lakh crores. Do you see the drastic change? When you have a committed leader, a decisive leader, a leader who means business, a leader who wants to eliminate corruption, a leader who wants to bring good governance to the country. And therefore, to your question, we have to all work collectively. And when we all get down to this task, believe me, there's no power on earth that will either stop us from eliminating all the wrong practices, why only corruption, but it will help us to make India a developed nation, a prosperous nation, a nation that our children can all be proud of, a nation of inclusive growth, as you rightly pointed out, but also a nation of sustainable growth. We can't afford to let our children inherit a planet where global warming can actually kill businesses, kill the entire, in fact, kill some nations, Pacific Island, Caribbean nations. I come from Mumbai. One of the studies recently said even Mumbai could be a threat. And I live right next to the sea. So we need inclusive growth. We need sustainable growth. All of this is possible. The $1 trillion economy in Karnataka is not possible. The next BJP government, working as a double-engine government under Prime Minister Modi's guidance and effective monitoring, will make Karnataka a $1 trillion economy back then. We are deeply committed to it, and we are equally committed to bring transparent systems of governance, to bring the single window that industry association friends talked to me about in an earlier interaction. We have already introduced the national single window. All the states are coming on board. You may have heard Honorable Finance Minister announcing that we will now use the PAN number. I'll tell you my concept, what I have in mind, but I'll urge you to give me better ideas. The idea is we'll have, if you apply to any foreign university, has anybody applied to a foreign university here? If you apply to, let's say, universities in America, what do you have to do? There's a common application form where all the data is fed in once. So you don't have to repeat it for every college where you're applying. You normally apply to 7, 8, 10 colleges, right? You have only one form. And then there are supplementary add-ons. Simple technology. So if Harvard requires some additional essay or information, they have a separate section, which only Harvard will see. If Carnegie Mellon requires a separate essay or some question, they'll have a separate add-on. Like that, we are trying to design one form where once you write, for example, company's name, director's name, DIN number, PAN number, CIA, whatever, CIN number. Once you feed in, then you don't have to repeat it hundreds of times. You don't have to repeat it every time you file a return. You don't have to repeat it every time you are paying your taxes. You just go on to one site, everything transparently available over there. What is public data will be public. What is confidential data will be masked. Additional, suppose you have a furnace. So Indian boiler regulation requires some additional data. That will be separate, small annexure. Others don't have to bother, but you don't have to fill 200 columns. Just have to fill 8, 10 which are required for boiler. Another form required for, let's say, FSSAI approval, food and safety standard. Whatever additional information, fill that up. And nobody should be required to go to any government office just like what we have done in income tax. Nobody has to go for refund. Nobody has to go for routine assessment. And should there be a need for some government officer to talk to a stakeholder, he will do it through video conferencing. COVID has taught us so many new things. It will be done through video conferencing, which can be recorded, so nobody can misuse. How does this sound to you? So can the chartered accountants of Hubli, Dharwad help us to work on some such ideas? This may not be the best. I know you will come up with a better idea. Institute can work on it. Therefore, instead of asking that finance ministers should be chartered accountants or new committees should be set up or we should be involved in government, come up with ideas. There was no formal committee. Vinod Jain and his whole team of, I think, 18 chartered accountants who had first conceptualized paperless, faceless assessment. अब उनको जाके मारना होना नहीं है. क्योंकि कई लोगों को चोट भी पहुंची है उसकी, दुर्भाग्य से. उनको तो कोई फॉर्मल कमेटी नहीं थी, कोई टाइटल नहीं था, कुछ नहीं था. मुझे लगता है everything does not have to come from government, and we are equal stakeholders in the future of India. Let it be a collaborative effort. Let us all work together to make a new India, and ultimately I don't think there's any problem which cannot be surmounted. If any of you knows any jeweler, compulsory hallmarking of jewelry was introduced 21 years ago or 22 years ago, but had not been implemented for nearly 2 decades. When Ramvilas Paswan ji unfortunately passed away, Honorable Prime Minister gave me that department to look after. I was surprised why this is not happening. Every time I would talk to my officers, they would curse the jewelers. So I decided to call all the jewelers. After hearing them, I realized they were all raising the right points. Very practical, there were nothing that they were saying which was not correct. We need a listening government, and Modi ji has given India a listening government. He himself is a very good listener. If you have a 1-hour meeting or a presentation to him, anybody wants to guess how much time he talks and how much time he listens? Make a guess. Gopal, sit.
I have he listens for 55 minutes, speaks for 5 minutes.
Exactly. Speaks for barely 5 minutes in a 1-hour presentation. But in that 5 minutes, presentation, उस प्रेजेंटेशन का पूरा निचोड़, और अगर आपने कोई गलती की है, उनका आंख उधर ही जाता है. I don't know whether it's a divine आपको लगेगा मैं चापलूसी कर रहा हूँ या आई एम बीइंग अ साइकोफेंट, प्रॉमिस यू it's a reality. You can ask anybody who has met Prime Minister. He'll pick up exactly the weak point or the mistake. And he'll give you 10 new ideas. And you'll say, why the hell didn't I think of this? So let's come up with some new ideas. Let's come up with a roadmap. Let's all of us pledge, as the Prime Minister had said, मेरी भी उतनी जिम्मेदारी है जितनी दूसरे की है, हमको मिल के करना है. टुगेदर वी कैन मूव माउंटेन्स एंड यू विल फाइंड, एंड देयर इज अ फेमस proverb or saying that when you cross one hill, you'll only find that there are many more hills in front of us. But that's what we are chartered accountants are capable of. We are capable of action. CA, right? We are competent, not only competent accountants, but we are competent activists who want to make a difference to this country. Government expenditure, you said, should be audited. पहले हम अपना काम तो कर लें, जहाँ पे हम ऑडिट करते हैं उसको तो ठीक से कर लें. अगर कर रहे होते तो भाई साहब इतने सालों में इतने सारे स्कैंडल्स आ गए और हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट ने एक्शन कितने चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स पे लिया, हमने कितने चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स को खड़ा किया या समाज में नंगा किया, मतलब इन द सेंस बेनकाब किया. आई डोंट मीन इट इन अ लिटिल सेंस, बेनकाब किया for having given false certificates. It took us years and years to take action on Satyam scam. Years. And then also I think it was a very... We'll have to introspect. We have to earn our spurs. Prime Minister Modi got re-elected second time with more seats than first time. Why? He worked hard for it. He earned your trust, है ना? तभी तो जीते होंगे ना 303 सीट, more than the previous time. After 30 years, the nation had trusted a government with an absolute majority. But after 35 years, they gave him an even bigger majority. Because सबका साथ, सबका प्रयास, सबका विश्वास और उसी से सबका विकास. इंक्लूसिव ग्रोथ, सबका विकास. कर्तव्य भावना, सबका प्रयास. ट्रस्ट, सबका विश्वास. And there is absolutely nobody in this country who can doubt, even for an iota of a second, the commitment that Prime Minister has towards our glorious future, towards Bharat Mata becoming truly a great nation, a nation where everybody enjoys the fruits of prosperity. Your points about allowing some businesses to run for 24 hours, impetus for a few cities to develop faster, that's where the smart city program comes up. I think the Karnataka government has also recently amended some laws to allow companies to run 24 hours, and particularly keeping women in mind, so that they feel safe and secure. 12-hour shifts, 4 days a week, and they are free for 3 days then. And they'll earn more, because that 4 hours will be overtime wages. So a lot of good things are happening. Lot more has to happen. And therefore, you have another opportunity in the next few months. You'll get another opportunity next year. Please repose your trust and faith in Prime Minister Modi. We are committed to ease of doing business. We are committed to a corruption-free India. But we'll all have to work together, because we believe that together we can achieve huge results. Together we can be a $35-40 trillion economy by 2047. But we'll have to work in that same spirit with a commitment to ourselves, to our families. And certainly, we have so many ample opportunities to use our talent. Don't need to become finance minister for that. But of course, we would love to see many of you becoming finance ministers. And I would invite your active participation in politics. I would wish to see some of you join politics, because that's an instrument of change. Many people used to ask me why I'm giving up a very lucrative investment banking practice. Why did I spend hours and hours in my spare time right from 1986 in public life? My father did that for me also. He used to work full day in a job and then never came home and would go straight to the Jansangh office in those days. All his life. I never saw my parents all my young age. Grandparents, grandmother took care of us. But at least don't worry, I'm not a dynast. My mother had retired from politics in 2004. After winning 3 times as an MLA, she retired. She said, I've crossed 65. अब दूसरे younger लोग को दो, पर पीयूष को मत देना मेरी सीट. She said it, I'm not joking. She said, I don't want him to be a privileged and entitled person. Let him work for the party. My father passed away in 2008 when his Rajya Sabha term also got over. May it got over, end of the year he passed away. Until that time I was in Mumbai working for the party like a karyakarta. 86 to 2004. This is the BJP. So I would urge all of you, come join politics. It's an instrument of change. With one stroke of a pen, you can impact millions of lives. And you know, when I was taught computers, I don't know whether CA curriculum or my BCom, I don't recall now. They taught us while teaching us computers, that computer is garbage in. जो भी डालोगे उसमें वही churn होके आएगा बाहर. Do I need to elaborate more? Thank you very much.